larger organizations, franchises and leagues, can be reticent to innovate. And like you said, because they've been doing what they're doing for a while and they've been doing it well. So what's the incentive to change, or what's the incentive to innovate? Innovation is a research-driven process, right? That's why we equate R&D with innovation all the time. And so is the natural extension of that larger organizations are more research averse, perhaps, right? Because they have their own incentive structures. And so if they're doing research in-house on a particular technology or consumer relationship management strategy, and maybe the results don't come back in their favor, they see that as a threat to business. In your experience, is that an accurate understanding, or am I, way off base there?
No, you're not way off base. And just to kind of put it into perspective, so like I had said, sports properties have been operating in this model that has worked for them. And that's because the two things that drive that are at the top of the revenue funnel for sports properties are obviously rights holders deals and sponsorship. So when it comes to rights holders deals, I mean, even today, the TV deals that are being cut continue to increase. They're not decreasing, they're increasing. So if that core revenue driver continues to increase, then why does somebody need to change? Because that's working, and that's huge. But then as you start to look at the other areas of those kind of buckets, right? You've got the revenue streams, you've got the rights holders, you've got the sponsorship, you've got merchandise, you've got ticketing. So if you're a team or a property, and bringing this back to innovation, because this is kind of a real core issue, is that the business model isn't broken because the biggest revenue producer, which is still media rights, basically floats everything else. And if you're looking at if you're a team and you're putting together your annual budget, right? For the most part, your budget is based on the regular season. In the regular season, let's just say your assets and your liabilities and your P&L is zero at the end of the season. You don't have a profit, you don't have a loss. But you need to go into the postseason to generate profit. So for every game you get deeper into the postseason, you're going to generate a profit. And as long as that continues, that's great. But here's what's happening, which is forcing innovation. And one of the reasons I left sports was because after that whole digital evolution, I was like, oh my gosh, it's not sports that are innovative, it's the technology that drives them that's innovative. And I wanted to learn more about that. But when you get back to the business model, okay, and COVID is literally showing where the breaks in the business model are. The second largest revenue producer in sports is sponsorship. So if sponsors are brands, and I'm going to use Toyota as an example, okay? It used to be that Toyota wanted to own 100% of a sports property. They wanted every game, they wanted every consumer, and they didn't want another car company in there because they wanted exclusivity and they were willing to pay for it. Well, because they can target so much better on digital media through this advertising tech stack, they want from a sports team in their sponsorship what they get from digital media in advertising. And sports, because sports now no longer know who their consumers are, they can't deliver that value. So Toyota doesn't want to be an exclusive sponsor. They'll sponsor the, one area, and then the sports property will need to get a truck and they'll need to get a luxury car so that they can fill the car category. So this is an example of how things are changing, and sports is changing by default rather than by design. So all of the innovation that is being done in adjacent verticals now has to be adopted by sports because they recognize that the weak links in this existing business model are broken. And that is why they've got to depend on technologies to help them innovate so that they can get back to where they need to be.